Now the Spirit of the Lord is the one that speaks through me. Before my mother's womb, he ordained and knew me, ransomed me, and placed his words upon my tongue. Few are chosen, rest assured that I am one, an ambassador for Christ, his beloved son. And by his word, let souls be one. So welcome everyone to this listening party. Sit back and let your souls be hearty. Celebrate with me the gift that God has imparted. And what better way to get this party started than to give him the stage, because he knows where your heart is. Holy Spirit, you are welcome in this place. Give me the boldness to look upon each face and speak every word that you've given me to say. With no fee, I speak truth. I won't deviate, and I'm confident that all will go great. So let your presence saturate this place. I breathe in your spirit, I intake a river full of life, water in every dry place. As I flow to the notes that heaven navigates, let it bless every listener and free them today. Let the truth of your word draw souls to be saved. Let the comforter comfort hearts today, and let the light of your word show them the way. Every time I write, I tell his story as I bask in the truth of his word before me. He opens up to me and shows me his glory. He gives me the strength to keep on soaring, and when I open up my mouth, for him I'm roaring. And the Spirit of the Lord goes before me, to the captive set free, that's reassuring. Over the years he strengthened my inner core, and every day I wake up just seeking him more. Am I ready for this? In my spirit I'm sure I am in Christ, and my Father I adore. He redeemed me from destruction, I am his ambassador. As the world turns and open up the door, I step in with purpose to win souls for the Lord. Every time I write, I tell a story as I bask in the truth of his word before me. Every time I write, I tell a story as I bask in the truth of his word before me. Every time I write, I tell a story as I bask in the truth of his word before me. Every time I write, I tell a story as I bask in the truth of his word before me. Every time I write, I tell the story as I bask in the truth of his word before me.
Hey, welcome to Tom the Bomb Sports Talk, the fastest growing show in the world. Today is Tuesday, not Monday, April 29th, 2025. And this is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. If you don't think it's a great day, just try missing one. And we, LOVE, love the Word of God and sports on the Tom the Bomb Show. I'm your host, Tommy Wood, and we got another fantastic show for you guys today. We had a little snafu problem yesterday, but we're back. This is the show that the enemy didn't want you to see, but we're here anyway. So here on the Tom the Bomb Show, we bring together my two passions, the Word of God and sports. So we bring together the excitement of sports and strengthening our faith through the Word of God. So in every episode, we fill it with insightful sports commentary from a Christian point of view, right, reminding you that how we win and lose in life truly matters, okay? Our mission is to spread the Word of God. And that's what we do. And that's what we're called to do. And that's what we do. So every show reflects our commitment to sharing biblical truths, offering hope and encouragement, okay, through scripture, okay. If it's relevant to the people, it's relevant on the Tom the Bomb Show, okay. So basically, we're going to we also address significant social problems and provide our guidance that is based on Christian principles in order to, assist people navigate the daily challenges that life brings about. Amen. All righty. So as usual, we're going to start off by thanking God for all the wonderful things that He's already done for us, in 2025. Okay, and of course, in 2025, our theme for 2025 is still living in the grace realm. If you guys haven't been catching our Friday night grace devotionals, you're missing it. You're missing it. Our foundational scripture is found in 2 Corinthians 9:8, and 2 Corinthians 9:8 says, "And God is able to make all grace abound toward you, that ye always having all sufficiency in all things may abound to every good work. That's found in the King James Version. Our goals are to teach the Word of God so that anytime you can see the Word, hear the Word, and understand the Word of God, you can be converted into the Word that you see, hear, and understand. And once we are converted, we can now strengthen the brethren and as witnesses declare with boldness, as Jesus is, so are we in this world. Hey, gang, our show is live, okay? So you guys can participate. The call in number here is 301 655 9992. Or you can join us live on Facebook Live, which is what we are now. And immediately after the show will immediately go to YouTube at Tom the Bomb Sports Talk. And if you're on the road, you can catch us on Spotify in your car, on your smartphone or your iPad under the same name, Tom the Bomb Sports Talk. And as usual, you can always email us at info@tomthebombsports.com, and definitely check out our website. We're doing a lot of great things on the website. We got a lot of good things coming at www.tomthebombsports.com. We want to thank all of our partners and subscribers for your prayers and financial support for contributing to our show and our ministry. We sincerely thank you as we continue in our calling to create the kind of content that you appreciate and support our business. Our business cash app is $ Tom the Bomb Sports Talk. That's $ Tom the Bomb Sports Talk. May God bless you 100-fold return on the seed you sow into our ministry on the Tom the Bomb Show. Hey, gang. Like I said, I apologize. We had that snafu toward the end of the show, the end of the show yesterday, and we didn't get a chance to get to our trivia question from last week. So let's get to our trivia question. So here it is again, our trivia question. So last week's trivia question, if you remember, we were honoring Jackie Robinson last week, was what team was the last to allow an African American to join its team? What was the last team that integrate in the Major League Baseball? And the answer to last week's trivia question was the Boston Red Sox in 1959. And if you think about it, that really shouldn't surprise anyone. Ouch. Okay. Let's get to today's poll question. Today's poll question is, did the NFL collude in Shedeur Sanders falling and being drafted in the 5th round? We want to hear your thoughts and your opinions on this matter. Now, of course, we're going to be talking NFL draft today, so our panel is chomping at the bit, and we're going to get to that. We're definitely going to get to that. So, okay, folks, let's get it. Look, we're kicking the show off with the NFL draft, which means we have to start off with what I'm calling the Shedeur Sanders debacle. Okay, I've been closely following social media, and I've been keeping my ear to the airways more than normal. So today's show is going to be different in that we're going to have our first panel discussion on the Tom the Bomb Show. Before I bring on and introduce our panel, I'd like to share a take that I found on Facebook worthy of sharing. Okay, I copied it, but the author's name didn't come through with the text. So I apologize for that. I'm trying to give you a heads up, but it just didn't come through. So sorry about that. So Shedeur Sanders falling to the 5th round and the 144th overall pick is more than fishy. It's ridiculous. Okay. Now, not just surprising or suspicious, but downright strategic, but not in a good way that most people might want you to believe. Okay. Because Shedeur wasn't about it wasn't about his talent. It wasn't about his mechanics. It wasn't about his arm strength. It wasn't about his ability to be a leader. Okay. Then what could it be about? Could it be about the brand? Okay. The very different brands colliding in real time. You got the primetime Deion Sanders brand versus the NFL Shield brand. The primetime Deion Sanders brand is rooted in self-confidence, visibility, cultural pride, and unapologetically Black fatherhood. A brand that doesn't beg for a seat at the table, it builds the table and invites others to eat. The NFL brand is a league that likes its stars charismatic, but not too loud, confident, but not too controlling, talented, but still coachable. Okay. So it puts you in remembrance of the blackballing of Colin Kaepernick, if you ask me. Okay, it's happened to outspoken players before. Now, it's Shedeur Sanders' turn to be humbled or punished, depending on how you want to frame it. His numbers don't lie, but they obviously didn't matter. I know people that I love and trust. I love and trust their football opinions that think Shedeur is really not that good. Okay. But his numbers say different. He passed for 4,134 yards. He had 37 TVs and he had a 74% completion rate. Now, although, and all that's because that is because he wouldn't throw the ball away and he took too many sacks. Okay. I watched the only issue I had watching him last year, but other than Cam Ward, there wasn't a better quarterback stat wise. But stats don't tell all of the story. A good friend of mine asked me, who sinned, the father or the son? Well, I think these are sins of the fathers. But the NFL is clearly playing the control card because it's not about talent. Coach Deion Primetime Sanders announcing his son wouldn't play for that hurt Shedeur. But when Archie Manning and in John Elway's camp pulled the same play, they were just looking out for the right fit, the right system, and the right culture for Eli and Elway. It was strategic when the Mannings and the Elways did it. But when the Sanders family does it, it's arrogant. Same playbook, but different headline. That's not coincident. That's a cultural clash. The NFL probably thinks it's making a point, but they might be creating a monster. Okay, so let's get to our panel. Today we have Troy Wood on our panel. We have my main man, Felix Bassi, and my big brother, Brian Anthony. Hello, guys. Can you guys hear me?
What's going on, man? How you?
Everybody doing good? Excellent, excellent. We got a
Oh
lot of
yeah.
stuff to talk about. This is going to be fun. So, draft talk for the panel. Okay, guys, everybody's going to get a chance to eat, like I was sharing with Felix. So, let's start off with the elephant in the room. And how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, right? All right, let's start off with, let's go left to right. Felix, what's your take on the Shedeur Sanders debacle, Felix?
Well, here's the thing. There's so many different angles you can think about it from, but like you said, none of them make any sense. Even if you go outside from the collusion angle, some people can use the whole logic angle. They can say that Shedeur Sanders' father is Deion Sanders, who is a coach, and the idea is that he has explicitly expressed his desire to coach his son should he be given the opportunity. So the idea is if I'm a struggling team that likely has a high draft pick, there's a good chance that I get him, and there's a good chance that my struggling team probably goes 1-7. Then what happens to me as a coach? I get fired. Then I've already hired my replacement essentially. But here's how that whole argument falls on its head. Essentially, the Cleveland Browns drafted Sanders anyway, and they drafted him late in the rounds or the later rounds. So here's the problem. Do the Cleveland Browns, would whoever made the decision tell me to my face that they seriously thought that Shedeur Sanders had lower draft value than every single person they picked before? Number one. And number two, they signed him anyway. So that shows that maybe the controversy was getting to them. Maybe you can take another conspiracy theory angle and say it's a PR move after backlash.
Felix, before I go to Troy, yes, no. Do you think the NFL colluded against Shedeur Sanders?
Possibly.
I love it. You're so democratic. Troy, that's that Felix, man. He's gonna be president one day. Troy, what's your thoughts?
Ultimately, when you take everything into effect, there's a lot of things that Shedeur and Deion could have did on their side that could have helped their camp out. One, Deion coming out and saying which teams that he prefer his son to be on, definitely hurt his son's stock. There's some ways that Shedeur could have carried himself that could have made him more professional. So it's not just because he's a young black man, he's confident. Even though that does play a big part into it, there are other things. So I don't want to ignore that. But with that said, for him to slip to the fifth round, for him to still be on the board in the fifth round after Cleveland already took Dylan Gabriel, I feel like they had no choice but to take him. You go best on the board. You can't deny his stats. You can't deny his overall talent. This is more so of, colluding in a sense. So to answer your question, ultimately, it's not fair. If you want to make the argument that he's not a first round pick, fine. If you want to make the argument that Cam Ward is just a better overall quarterback, hence why it's a big gap, okay, fine. But at the same time, for four of the quarterbacks outside of Cam Ward to go in front of him, that's silly. So yeah, definitely collusion.
Brian, you're up.
I'm glad you waited for me for last because I wanted to hear what the rest of the panelists.
You're gonna be the anchor all day, big brother.
No, I'm not. I don't mind it. Let me say this. My answer to the question would be no.
Okay.
And I say no because whose business is it?
It's the NFL's.
Whose money is it?
It's the NFL's.
Okay. We don't have any ownership taking that whatsoever. We have enough problems trying to get them to follow the Rooney Rule.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How many black coaches do we have in the NFL? Head black coaches. Qualified, but not in the NFL. So here's what it boils down to. Yes, a lot was said about Deion, a lot was said about Shedeur. The bottom line is this, guys, for me. I've seen a lot of football, seen a lot of years. Tom and I know. Let me disclose this first. I was never a big fan of Deion as a football player. Never. Everybody talks about how he's the best quarterback ever. I don't think so. I played the position. I played with a 4-time Super Bowl champion at corner who shut down Michael Irvin in the Dallas Cowboy championship game, who shut down Chris Collinsworth in the Super Bowl, who shut down both of Miami's marks in the Super Bowl, Eric Wright. You got to get him past me. Got to get Deion past Eric first. If you know football, he played in the South Division. Back when he played, they didn't have any real good quarterbacks. So any out pattern, any pattern like that where you got to zip the ball and get it there, they didn't have that. So Deion's going to jump that route, and he's gone to the house consistently. Look at the film. Now, back to Shedeur. There were, as you mentioned, probably 4 quarterbacks that went before him in the draft, which he was much better than. If you're looking at a 72% percentage rating in terms of his completions, Jackson couldn't handle that. The kid from Louisville, nowhere close to that. None of the players that were drafted, none of the quarterbacks that were drafted ahead of him were better than him. If you're looking for a reason, Boomer Esiason I saw a video with him talking about this same subject, and he will tell you the ownership took Shedeur off the board because of his cockiness, because he didn't want the combine, because a lot of things that he and Deion did. Let's clear the air about one thing for sure. Obviously, the Mannings, and who else was that?
John Elway.
Yeah, John Elway. Of course. They went a route where Deion, where I never heard them say that, but somebody picked it up in the media and ran with that. And so it became a story. Deion boldly just came out and said, now, the Manning brothers or the Mannings, John Elway, for sure had a number 1 quarterback without question. We have to look at what Shedeur that. Was Shedeur better than Cam Ward?
Obviously.
I heard Ryan Clark say, or somebody say, that they overplayed their cards. And I firmly believe that. But I believe more of what Boomer Esiason said, in that ownership said, hey, I don't want that cocky dude in my locker room. Of course he's black. They don't want a person in their locker room that they can't control, so to speak. They can't control Deion, never have been able to. So there was that fear in the room. Also, if you look at the teams that drafted and didn't draft a quarterback, they have stars at quarterback. He was going to go in as a backup. He wasn't going to unseat anybody. But how much bravado do you want behind the starting quarterback? That's got to be considered by the ownership as well.
Right. Okay, B, I need you to be a little look. Let me put some things out here so I can get back to the rest of the panel. So these are some things that we heard, and I want you guys to comment on. Okay, number one, they were saying he didn't do himself any favors by missing the combine. Only I need to get in there, Lauren. Only Cam Ward and Shedeur didn't participate in the workout. He wasn't viewed as an elite QB. It was another one of the things that I heard a lot of the so-called experts saying. Shedeur hurt himself in the interviews. He said he didn't interview well. And like Brian just mentioned, some teams didn't want to back up with all that juice. Another thing is, of course, can't be overlooked, is the presence of Deion Sanders himself. Hey, there's people that don't like Deion. And here's something interesting I want to throw out at you guys. I think the media is complicit, overhyping Shedeur Sanders' talent, not having a complete picture. I think the bottom line, the NFL says you're not that guy, but they said the same thing about two-time MVP Lamar Jackson. Now, like Lamar, prove them wrong. Like Tom Brady, prove them wrong. Troy, jump in there and comment on that. Okay, we don't have any volume for Troy.
You know, Mel Kiper said this on ESPN about 2 days ago, saying how all of these experts, you know, haven't evaluated quarterbacks correctly in the past like 30 some odd years. And when it comes to talent, everybody knew that Lamar was the most physically gifted quarterback outside of Josh Allen in that draft. Yet Josh Rosen, Sam Darnold, all those guys went before him. Now, if it weren't for Ozzie Smith trading up to get that 32nd pick, he wouldn't have even been the first round pick. And that's not a good look on the NFL. Now, when you got guys specifically on my age bracket, me and me and Felix's age bracket, that defend guys like Lamar Jackson and, you know, guys in that age realm, it's we don't want to make it seem like we're only doing it because, oh, he looks like us, oh, he's the same background. You know, talent recognizes talent. And the man won the Heisman. He came in, he sat his time behind Joe Flacco, and quite honestly was ready to go his rookie year, game 2 or 3 behind Joe Flacco. It's just it took a little time for them to make that transition. I don't think it's fair how certain people get viewed, but you know that's just life. It's just how it is, man.
Felix. Can't hear Felix, Lauren.
Hey, you're muted,
we
bro.
had so many.
I'm sorry, Felix. Can you start over? We didn't hear you at all.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I think he hit the nail on the head perfectly with his breakdown of the 2018 draft. And I think the 2018 draft was a prime example of the dynamic he's explaining. So essentially, what happened was you have quarterbacks like Sam Darnold, you had quarterbacks like Josh Rosen, who a lot of people don't even remember, who are considered to be the quarterback, or they're considered to be quarterbacks who probably have a Super Bowl by now, or be the face of the league by now. And as you can see, that didn't quite pan out. So the whole deal is, yes, that's a prime example of how quarterbacks are not evaluated effectively. And to his point, to kind of take the point further, they kind of undervalue a quarterback who is mobile. Even in Lamar Jackson's case, he's not only a mobile quarterback, he has passing ability. And I thought that whole running back talking point, I thought it would have gone out in 2021 when he had a 400-yard passing game and a 21-point comeback. I thought that would have gone out the window when he tied the NFL record for most games with a passing rating of 158.3. Next time he does it, he breaks the NFL record. So that being said, I think the NFL, really being a microcosm society, has a long way to go with being objective and taking out bias when it comes to evaluating people and doing things a different way.
Mm-hmm. Okay, coming back to you, Brian. Listen, if you guys remember when okay,
Sound.
okay, all right. If you guys remember when Tom Brady went in the 6th round and was the 199th draft pick, we had the Brady 6, T. Martin, Mark Bolger, Chris Redmond, Spurgeon Wynn, Chad Pennington, and my main man for the San Francisco 49ers, it still drives me crazy, Giovanni Carmazzi. Well, Shedeur has his Shedeur 5. You know, Cam Ward, we think, was legitimately the number 1 draft. Jackson Dart to the Giants, Tyler Shaw, and Jalen Milrow and Dylan Gabriel. Brian, how can you justify with maybe Jackson Dart? Can you justify these five guys going ahead of Shedeur, Brian?
You know, a lot of times you can't justify anything the NFL decides to do. Again, it's their game, it's their system. They're going to decide what they want for the team. And I know the head coach in New York had some kind of time with the quarterback that they selected.
Jackson Dart.
So, yeah, he's had some previous time with him, so he was familiar with him. So it kind of fits the system I'm assuming that he wants to run in New York. They've been losing, so is that really a good system? You got to ask yourself that too. You know, each team is responsible, but I'll revert back to Johnny Manziel. Bust. Who was my man down in Tampa Bay? He's coming back.
Right.
He was garbage according to all the hype. His hype, the hype had him higher than he actually played, and that was part of the problem in Cleveland.
Right.
You know, the NFL talent evaluators. I believe if you're going to evaluate a quarterback, you should have at least played some type of football.
Troy and Felix, I want you guys both to answer this one. Ashton Genty going number 6 to the Raiders, Amarian Hampton going to the Chargers. Do you think the success of Saquon Barkley this past year, because normally we don't see running backs go that early in the draft, do you think the success of Saquon had something to do with the Ashton Genty going 6 overall to the Raiders and Amarian Hampton? Go ahead and answer that for me, Troy. What's your thoughts?
Not necessarily. I think, you know, Saquon is all-world, all-pro regardless, even if he didn't have an MVP season last year. But I think with Ashton Genty, given the numbers that he put up and the production that he had, the amount of 30-yard plus runs that he had, you can't really ignore, you know, what you see on film and then say, okay, I have to, you know, wait because he's a halfback, so I don't want to reach too early. You know, when you see a guy that you think can make an immediate impact, you go out and get him. You know, Dallas Cowboys went and got Zeke. The Rams went and got Todd Gurley. You know, the list goes on. You know, when you see that guy and you know it complements your team, well, mind you, they just got Brock Bowers last year. Brock Bowers, in my opinion, outside of Jaden Daniels, was the rookie of the year. You know, so when you got a running back that can get you 5.5 yards of carry, that can break a 50-yard run, that's going to open up so much for the tight ends in the play action game. It's going to open up so much and make the playbook just that more dynamic. So, you know, with him and Amarian Hampton, both of those guys bring that to the table for the teams they got drafted to.
Felix, jump in on that.
So I would say that I think that Saquon's MVP season probably had a slight influence on it. Now, to Troy's point, he did say that Saquon's always been like this, to a point where he'd elevate his Giants team to a level where they were competitive, as bad as they were. And you just saw how terrible they were without him. But at the same time, when you see that value translating into team success, like you saw with Philadelphia, you just have to just change your thought process altogether. And I think that's what led to it.
Okay.
Now, can I say one more thing?
Go ahead, Troy.
My bad. So to piggyback on what Felix is saying, the main thing that I would say is Saquon going to Philly, he wasn't even, well, I mean, of course he's, you know, superstar talent, but you got A.J. Brown, you got Devontae Smith, you got Dallas Goedert, you got Jalen Hurts. All these other guys are what defensive coordinators have to go up against every week. So it takes pressure off of Saquon compared to being on a Giants team where he's head over heels the number one option. You know, so that's why I feel like schemes and, you know, just being able to, you know, fit in a particular schematic system is more important. But yeah, I totally agree with what you were saying. I just want to say that.
Brian, you want to comment on that?
I think NFL teams are finding this pass-happy offensive scheme without a running back is what's keeping them from getting to the Super Bowl, or even in contention for that, minus the Dallas Cowboys. We won't even talk about that. However, you know, the running back that was taken, I forgot, with the third or fourth pick. Which pick was that he was taken with?
The six
Ashton
or
Jennings
seven,
was 6
something like that.
Okay, number six.
overall.
Wasn't he a Heisman Trophy finalist?
Yeah, finished
Yeah.
second.
Okay. So
Yep.
you can't avoid that. You got to look at that talent. You got to look at what he had to work with at Boise State. You got to look at a lot of different
Coming
things.
back to
And
Felix.
if you feel your scheme is lacking something that you just can't figure it out, it's probably a running game, especially if you are a northern team or a midwestern team, and that weather's going to get cold at some point in October. But if you're in Chicago, you got to have a running back at some point. You can't throw the ball all the time because there's no way that quarterback is going to hold on to that icy ball in Chicago.
Okay,
Right.
guys, listen. Okay, now we know the Tom the Bomb Show. We're actually shooting from the DMV, so for my local viewers, they're going to crush me if I don't let Felix and Troy talk about what the Washington Commanders did in this year's draft. So, Felix, kick us off. Tell us what we can look forward to from you and Troy's Washington Commanders in this past draft. Felix, go ahead, Troy. Felix is not hearing me.
So to start off, man, look, protect number 5 at all costs. When you have a newborn child, the best thing you can do for you and your family is to get the best home security system that you can to ensure that even the times that you're not home, the house is protected. I love the fact that they went out and got Laramie Tunsil, in which they used draft capital to help get him alongside with Marshawn Lattimore. They did a great job of, utilizing their pieces in the right way. We went out and got Trey Amos, a physical corner out the SEC from Ole Miss. I'm not too sold only because he's from the SEC, because the same thing happened with Emmanuel Forbes coming out of Mississippi State. So I don't want to get into that bias of, okay, he's played against top talent, therefore it should transfer. But one thing I do like is that he was a press cover corner. He can jam. And he brings a lot of energy. And all football is being able to be in the right place at the right time and give 100% effort every single time. So I think that all the draft picks that we've had definitely fit the culture that we're trying to build up. And then one more thing, Sean Taylor being my favorite NFL football player ever, him and Ray Lewis. Gabe Taylor getting signed as an unrestricted free agent at the end, and him coming to training camp this year. I really hope that he does make the team and does have a lasting impact. Special teams, secondary guy as a backup. I love what we got going on.
Okay. Hey, listen, the City of Champions, East St. Louis, Illinois Flyers showed up strong in the 2025 NFL draft. In the second round, the Chicago Bears selected with the 39th overall pick in the 2025 draft, East St. Louis Flyers standout Luther Burden III, wide receiver out of the University of Missouri. He was ranked by ESPN as the top offensive recruit in the class of 2022. He received 41 scholarship offers as a 5-star recruit. As a matter of fact, he's the first ever 5-star recruit that Missouri ever landed. A great NFL comp for Luther Burden, I think, to compare to is Stephon Diggs, with, I think, a higher upside. He can be must-see TV. In high school, he scored almost every time he touched the ball. It was unbelievable. And I think he's one of the greatest kickoff and punt returners that I've ever seen. His vision is elite. He has great hands. And he ran as a 4.4 40. He's 6. You can't do that. He's 6 feet. He's 206 pounds. You can't do that. He's 610 pounds. And his potential, I understand what you're saying, Lori. Calm down. Like I said, his potential is absolutely off the charts. Okay, it's absolutely off the charts. When that's with Luther Burden III, out of East St. Louis, Illinois, and man, listen, they had 2 high schoolers get drafted in the same draft. Let's pull up our next guy, and then I'll let you comment on the homeboys, Brian. Let me just see if I can speed up. Okay. With the 244th overall pick in the 2025 NFL draft, the Detroit Lions selected wide receiver Dominic Lovett from the University of Georgia. He's a native East St. Louis and Illinois. Also, Lovett brings speed, versatility, and quick route running to Detroit's receiving course. He's 5'10". He runs a 4.4 40 also, 440-yard dash. And like Burton III, he's a dynamic kick and punt return specialist. Lovett, like Burton, was at Missouri, But he transferred when Luther Burden III showed up at Missouri. He transferred to Georgia, where he became one of the Bulldogs' top offensive weapons in 2024. He led the team in receptions and TDs, solidifying himself as a promising playmaker. Troy and Felix, go ahead. You want to hear something scary? These two were on the same high school team at Eastside, Illinois. Go Flyers, all gas, no brakes. All gas, no brakes. It's coming to the NFL. Lovett and Burton III. Brian, talk to us about our homeboys.
Let me say this about East St. Louis. Many people don't know a lot about it. A lot of people mistake it for being the east side or the east part of St. Louis. Absolutely not. It's across the Mississippi River. It's in the state of Illinois. It sits on the eastern part of the bank of the Mississippi. If you know anything about it, one of the first places to have the race riots back in the day. Very impoverished city. When you think about the largest employer in this city is the school district, no hospital there. It can be depressing. When you think about it and you drive through there, it's always been known one of the most dangerous cities if you don't know what you're doing while you're in it. To have the type of talent that has come through East St. Louis, we can start with Jackie Joyner Kersey. We can start with a lot of people. There have been tons of people athletically who have come out of this city and contributed to a lot of sports history throughout this country. These two players, I'll stick with them.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, you asked me.
Come on, big brother, bring it.
History. These two players, Luther Burden and Dominic Lovett, will add tremendous speed and heart to the teams that they were drafted by. I look for big things to happen to them or happen for them. I look for big things to happen for these teams. I'm sure Chicago will be targeting him. I'm sure Detroit, even though they already have great wide receivers, they spread the ball around. So these are great picks for these teams, and it's a great look for East St. Louis.
Hey, Felix, are you back with us?
Yes, I am.
You remember over the years at WBGR when we were always doing the update on the Flyers, and you would say, they won again? Well, how about two kids on the same team at the same time, and they're both get drafted in this draft and both at wide receivers? What's your thoughts on that, Felix?
First off, makes sense. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, it's a successful program. It's somewhat how out here in the DC area, we always hear about people from DeMatha coming up and entering the NFL. So based on what I'm hearing about the East St. Louis Flyers, the fact that they're producing players consistently, the fact that they're able to achieve consistently shows that it's beyond the players being good a certain season. It shows that it's beyond just having a lucky year. It shows that they're doing a good job developing the players at a high level. And it's just something you notice in college or high school programs. And it's a really great thing. It really is, especially for the community.
Troy, jump in there before we go to our next topic.
I think that both teams are going to benefit quickly adding these two assets to their team. Going to Luther Burden, having Ben Johnson as the offensive coordinator and having Caleb Williams as your quarterback alongside with DJ Moore, who I feel they may move after picking up a guy like this, given the fact that they already have Keenan Allen and they already have the guy they drafted last year in the first round. I can't remember his name. But regardless, and they drafted a tight end early, they're looking to put points on the board. They looked at what Jaden Daniels and Washington did, and Ben Johnson is going to look to bring that identity to Chicago. So he's in a good position. Dominic, even though the offense coordinator is different, Detroit has definitely set the standard for how they want to play football, and he won't have to go in there as the lead guy. He can learn and sit behind Monroe St. Brown and J-Mo and learn from all those guys about how they work day in and day out, and I think both of them are going to benefit.
Hey, guys, in 1974, the Pittsburgh Steelers had the best draft in the history of sports. Okay, Tom the Bomb, that sounds like hyperbole to me. Okay, let's wait and see and talk about it. In 1974, All right. The Pittsburgh Steelers had 4 draft picks, and all 4 of them became Hall of Famers. Lynn Swann, Jack Lambert, John Stallworth, Mike Webster, and then they signed their first free agent after the draft, signing in 1974, was Donnie Shell, who also became a Hall of Famer. So all of their picks in the 1974 draft became NFL Hall of Famers. Now, that's incredible because if you take a whole draft, like this whole 2025 draft, you might not have 5 Hall of Famers in that whole draft. So for one team to have 5 picks and all 5 of them be Hall of Famers has, Felix, let me start off. Has any franchise in any sport ever done that?
No. No, as a matter of fact, I think the Steelers, just from this draft class, this isn't even hyperbole. You could dare to say that this draft class probably produced more Hall of Famers than certain franchises as a whole. So it speaks for itself.
Troy, what's your thoughts on that? Five picks, 5 Hall of Famers.
So here's one thing that I will say. Given that I wasn't born, I don't really remember like what they all did. I know about Jack Lambert because I played linebacker. I know about John Stallworth because that's one of your favorite wide receivers. But ultimately, one thing I'll say is that Pittsburgh has always had the identity of drafting guys that can mesh together quickly. And that's the main thing about getting success within the NFL and developing Hall of Fame talent. I think of the Patriots. I think about how, Teddy Bruschi, uh, Ty Law, Richard Seymour, Harrison, all those guys, they were all built in together and they all worked off of their own, strengths and abilities. And that made them a great Hall of Fame defense. So when I see this list, Lynn Swann and John Stallworth on the outside, you're going to get good result and production out of that. So, yeah, I'll definitely like this draft class, without a doubt.
Brian, wrap that up for us before we go to our first break.
Yeah, I think it's got to be one of the best, but I would want to see how the San Francisco 49ers, that draft class with Ronnie Lott, Eric Keena Turner, Carthon Williamson, led to 4 Super Bowls. So it's kind of quietly. I like this draft class, and they did some phenomenal things. I'd like to see how that matches up, the two match up together.
All righty, guys. Look, let's take a break. Check out Tom the Bomb sponsors, and we'll be right back. Look, we'll be right back. Let's take a break, and we'll be right back.
Window Nation is on the Morgan's home turf to huddle up about replacing their drafty old windows.
This free estimate is showing how easy it is to tackle the problem.
We can get any of these windows custom made.
Yes, you can get the quality and style you really want.
And at a more affordable price than they ever imagined.
Now that they've sealed the deal, they'll be saving money year-round.
We're really confident with Window Nation.
Get your free estimate today and get 60% off all windows plus no interest or payments for 24 months at getwindownation.com.
All righty. Hey, Tom the Bomb sponsors, we're back. If you need any type of home improvement done, give my guys at Window Nation a call. They're the best in the business nationwide, and you won't beat their pricing, especially when you tell them that Tom the Bomb sent you. Feel free to call me if you have any questions. I can give you the skinny so you can cut through the fat. Okay. Danzante Bay, it's simply my second favorite golf course in the whole world. Laredo is beautiful, it's breathtaking, and you'll love it, even if you don't golf. But the golf course is spectacular. And Dr. Lauren will verify that the spa is world class and the restaurants are unforgettable. So check those guys out. All righty, let's get to our NBA, our NBA playoff update. Playoffs? Yeah, playoffs. Is it just me, or do these playoffs look like the '80s and the '90s NBA? Man, okay, so we know that they're not calling fouls. Okay, they aren't calling fouls. And forget about traveling. I'm gonna go ahead and just get over that, Brian, because the traveling, when I watch these NBA games, the traveling drives me crazy. Talking about Euro step. That ain't no US travel anyway. Look, hey gang, let's get to the games. So let's start off with I think we got the Lakers and the Timberwolves.
Yes.
Listen, man, Ant-Man is that guy. Ant-Man is that dude. Listen, I just want to open this up for the panels. You guys talk to me. What's your thoughts on the Timberwolves and the Lakers? Troy, go ahead.
Well, to start out, like you said, Ant is the truth, and he's only getting older, which in this sense is benefiting him because he's still under the age of 25. He has the confidence of a Michael Jordan every time he steps out on the court. He's not MJ, but he has the thought process of at any given moment, if I get the right switch off a pick and roll, I'm going to score on you. And when you have that instinct, when you have that talent, it's infectious to the other team. Them going out to get Dante DiVincenzo this past year definitely helped them in a particular scenario like this. He's been a winner all his life. And, now going here, he's definitely making a big impact. There's more that I want to say on this, but I'm going to let everybody else talk. But the main thing is that Minnesota, they were already a good defensive team last year. Now they're just minus Karl Anthony Towns. It's opening up the floor a little bit more for Naz Reid. They got a good team.
Hey, Brian, are the Lakers done?
I've seen LeBron down 3-1 before, but that was a younger LeBron. Tom, I don't know. We'll see tomorrow. If they lose tomorrow, it's a done deal. But you got one of the most prolific scorers in the game in Luka Doncic. You got LeBron. I don't put a lot of value on AR-15 just yet because he showed when that pressure's on him sometimes he does not deliver. Here's my big problem. JJ Redick. My big problem is him not being an experienced coach, even though he has two phenomenal coaches on the bench with him. But how do you play a LeBron, your five starters for the entire second half of the game? How do you not, you're lacking size. How do you not use Jackson Hayes? You only use Jackson Hayes 4 minutes. Luka likes to do the lob, and he's on the bench, so he can't do that. You take that out of his game. And you got another, I forgot the other big's name, who is not going to give them anything but 6 fouls. Where's the intimidation factor?
Sometimes that's your job.
Yeah. And I don't know where these coaches come from being afraid to use these players and letting them use those 6 fouls. You got people with escorts going to the hole like Ant. So, and then there's only one person that I know that's on that bench that can move their feet enough and put pressure on Ant, not stop him, but that's Cam Reddish, and he's not even getting in the game.
I agree with that. I agree with that 100%.
This is a JJ Redick situation for me.
Felix, what's your thoughts on the Timberwolves and the Lakers, Felix?
So I would say this for the Timberwolves and Lakers. I think the Lakers, their best chance of getting out of the series, they need to do what brought them to the dance. At this point, all your 3-point shooters, they need to be locked in. All LeBron James, he needs to play classic LeBron James basketball. I know it's not 2015 anymore. Someone said that earlier, but at the same time, he's still a solid player. He's been consistent the entire year with the good games. And honestly, I think it comes to a point where these players have to be like, hey, if we lose one more game, it's over. And the fact of the matter is, I don't think this Lakers team has been playing the best basketball against the Timberwolves. They have not, because even this year, although the Lakers weren't all that, the LA Fakers, as you call them, since the trade deadline, they're one of the hottest teams in the league. And that's what brought them here. They need to tap back into what they were doing for the last 2 months.
I think Nat Wood's LA Fakers are done, but don't fret, Nat, because next year you're going to either have KD or Giannis on your team, so you'll be happy. Don't worry. Let's move on to our next game. The Knicks and the Pistons. We started off by saying that they aren't calling fouls, and Tom the Bomb's pet peeve with replay is we have replay and we still aren't getting this right. How do you not call that foul on Tim Hardaway Jr. at the end of the game? How do you not call that foul, Brian?
The NBA bothers me. I don't know. We've been griping about no defense. Now we're getting defense, and I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. I really don't. It makes it hard to watch. I have no answer for that, Tom. I don't get it.
Troy, how do you not make that call at the end of the game, man?
The heat of the moment, everything happens so fast, man. The guy pump fake, got him off his feet, and then he was able to, create contact in the shot. But I guess in that split second, these referees are human. As much as we want to say that they're professionals and that they get paid for this, at the end of the day, they just the same as you and me. They're gonna make mistakes, So I just think it was an honest no call. Ultimately, I don't think that's the reason why they lost that game. Basketball's played in 4 quarters, not 2 minutes. So, there are a lot of things that they could have did earlier in the game to help, create more of a gap in that situation. But, it was definitely a missed call without a doubt. They definitely should have been able to go back and change it, because when you're down 1 point and you have a chance to shoot 3 free throws to potentially decide if this series is 2-2 or 3-1, that's huge, man.
Okay, Troy, I agree with everything you're saying. But Felix, listen, maybe they were out of challenges, but how do you have replay, Felix, and not get that right? Even if you're out of challenges, in Major League Baseball, if the team is out of challenges, the referees can decide to take a look at a play on their own. How do you not, Felix? How do you not take a look at that play and you have replay?
Really, it just goes down to officiating in sports in general. They just leave it to referees' discretion. Now, to your point, there is a very easy fix, especially with the advent of the instant replay. There's almost no reason that you have these no calls or missed calls in every single major American sports league. So I think it's just coming to a point where they try to balance it out. Some leagues have a situation where the league offices can call in. Some leagues have something where, the certain plays are automatically reviewed, like in the NFL. But to a certain point, I think that they're keeping this sort of thing around because it's some sort of mystique of the game. I don't necessarily agree with that, but at a certain point, I think that this is deliberate.
Listen, the Pacers closed out the Bucks, and I do have highlights, but we're not going to talk about that. Here's all I want to talk about: is Giannis done in Milwaukee? Yes or no, all you guys. Is Giannis done, Brian, in Milwaukee?
I lived in Milwaukee. Who wants to stay in Milwaukee? Yeah, he done.
Troy. Troy, is Giannis gone?
Yeah, he's gone. He don't got nothing else to do for the city of Milwaukee. Milwaukee. He already got them a championship. So now it's just a matter of, okay, what's best for my career? Where am I going to go and flourish and continue to put myself in a position to win a title? So yeah, he's gone.
Felix, are you going to make this a clean sweep? Is Giannis done?
Yep, clean sweep, and I'm going to build on Troy's point. What else is there for him to do in Milwaukee? Milwaukee's not what they were in 2021. He's already got his championship there. He's done just about everything you can do for this franchise. He's asserted himself among the all-time greats of Milwaukee. But I think that it's going to come down to a point where, like you said, there's going to be some team that needs him to get over the hump. They're going to offer him X amount of money. As soon as that happens, he's out of there.
Okay, guys, this next game we're not taking any comments on the Celtics and the Orlando Magic. I don't even think they should have played this series. I'm just-
I disagree
they,
with
It's a
they
that.
shouldn't.
full
They shouldn't even
I
played this
disagree with
series.
that.
This series was a waste of time. This series was about them making money. There's nothing. There's nothing to talk about in this 4-game sweep. Oh, wait a minute. Magic did win one. Okay, so it wasn't a sweep. But there's nothing to talk about. For the sake of time, we're totally skipping. Let's get to the Rockets and the Warriors. Let's get to the Rockets and the Warriors. Now we had game 3 all teed up for us yesterday, but of course we had that snafu. And here's the thing. Let me ask you guys this: Jimmy Butler was out of that game, and the Warriors were somehow able to get a W without Jimmy Butler. All three of you guys answer this for me. Is it over? Did that cost the Rockets not winning when Jimmy Buckets was out of this lineup? Go ahead. Somebody jump in there.
Well,
I
one thing I'll say is yesterday Jimmy did play.
Not
So,
yesterday. I'm
Jimmy
talking about
dropped.
not yesterday. The game that
Are
Jimmy
you talking
Buckets
about game
didn't
3?
play,
Oh,
and the
oh, oh,
Rockets
yeah,
still
yeah.
lost. Did they blow that series right there? That's the question.
No.
Okay, Brian, what's your thoughts?
I don't think they blew it with that game. I think they underestimate the heart of a champion.
Mm-hmm. Felix, what's your thoughts?
My take is if they can't beat the Warriors without Jimmy Butler, now that Butler's back, I think that game told us the results of the series.
So you think the series over?
Most likely, or at the very least, we know who's going to win.
Man, those Warriors are impressive, aren't they? Let's get to the Clippers and the Nuggets. Now, this to me, this is undoubtedly the best series in the playoffs. Game one of this series was like game 7. I could not believe that I was watching game 1 in the series and it was that competitive. The intensity was that high. And this, let me just say this Clippers and Nuggets series is Ali Frazier. Brian, what's your thoughts on this Clippers and Nuggets series?
Heavyweight battle. It could go 7. Kawhi is playing well. Kawhi is healthy. They don't have to share the ball between he and Paul George. And Denver, Jokic is a beast, man. Jokic is a beast.
Mm-hmm. Troy, Kawhi has gotten a lot of heat because he's been injured a lot. And I still say this, that Jokic is still the best player in the NBA. If I got a draft and I'm getting the first pick overall, I'm taking Jokic. But Troy, Kawhi healthy is letting us know why they gave all this money and put up with all of this. Talk to us about this series, Troy.
Man, well, look, Kawhi Leonard is, a product of championship pedigree. When you learn from Tim Duncan, when you go to war against LeBron with Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili, and you got Greg Popovich as your lead coach, you know what it takes to win. He won in Toronto as well. You got 2 Finals MVPs going at it in a 7-game series. And with this series in particular, both of these guys aren't like the flashy superstars that we think of in today's NBA. But it goes to show how far IQ goes into being able to win a 7-game series. And one thing I like about what Kawhi Leonard does and Nikola Jokic, they don't let anybody take them out of their game style. They will play at their speed. They will get their shot. They will get to the free throw line. They will play defense, and they will pass the ball effectively. And going back to what Brian was saying, Paul George not being there anymore is actually helping the Clippers because it's giving more chances for James Harden to be that facilitator, to be that head guy, which then Kawhi Leonard coming off of pin down screens, off ball screens, posting up, you name it. It opens up the floor for everybody and it makes things easier for them to, to do well. So ultimately, this is a great series. I think the Clippers might edge it out, though. I think Mike Malone not being there and, the Nuggets still going through that, I think this is where they miss their head coach.
Felix, you know that Tom the Bomb is a Nuggets and a Warriors fan, and this series has me worried. I think I actually agree with Troy, even though I'm rooting for Denver and I'm a big Denver fan. I think the Clippers are going to win this series. Felix, what's your thought on the best series in the playoffs?
Same. And even though this is the best series in the playoffs, most competitive going back and forth, look at the margin of victory for the Clippers. Now, one of their wins was one of the largest wins in playoff history, and I believe they had another win that was of concern if you're a Denver fan. So I would say that based on what we see, yes, it is going back and forth, but I think there's clearly a better team here. And yes, the Nuggets are able to amass some wins. But one thing about basketball is the team that does better is the team that is overall better or the team performing better usually wins the series. So I'm going to have to go with the Clippers here.
Okay, our next series. What's the
move on, I just
Go
want to
ahead.
ask
Go ahead,
everybody
Troy.
one question.
Go ahead.
Before we move on, I just want to ask everybody one question. So
Okay.
considering the series is what, 2-2 right now?
Right.
Series is 2-2. If it weren't for Aaron Gordon being at the right place at the right time on that putback, this could easily be 3-1. Very easily. So, with that being said, do you guys think that the Nuggets still got that firepower that made them scary the past couple of years?
As a Nugget fan, I say no. And I'm rooting for the Nuggets. The Clippers are really scaring me. And for your example, if I hadn't ate too many Wendy's number 2, I could be 185 pounds. So I don't even want to hear if he had put the putback back. If I hadn't had too many number 2s at Wendy's, I might be 185 pounds. So I don't even want to hear that. So to answer your question, being a Nuggets fan, I think they're in trouble. But I'm rooting for him. Like Brian said, this Jokic, what's happening is Murray I think Murray's still hurt. And Murray's not a legitimate number 2 option like he's been in the past. And that's why I think the Clippers have, because Harden is unbelievable and Kawhi is just off the chain. And as I'm rooting for the Nuggets, but I think the Clippers take it. Listen, OKC swept the Memphis Grizzlies, and once Ja Morant was hurt, it's only the second time that both number 1 seeds have swept. Here's what I want to ask you guys. Is OKC the representative out of the West? Give me a yes, no from all of you guys.
Yes.
Brian?
No.
No? Okay. Felix?
I have to think about it, but I still say no.
Still say no. Okay, so Felix and Brian, if OKC is not the representative out of the West, who do you guys think it is?
I'll go first. You can choose between the Clippers, Golden State. Again, you can never bet against LeBron. I've seen him do this before.
Right.
But I don't think OKC has. I don't think the team has. They've matured, but they don't have that experience yet.
Felix?
I would say the Lakers. If you notice, I've been saying Lakers, Warriors is going to be the final for some months now, but based on what I'm seeing from the Lakers, they may not even make it that far. So I'd say that the best bet is between the Warriors and the Clippers right now.
Troy, what's your thoughts?
But OKC, I'll give them more credit. Oh, sorry.
Troy, what's your thoughts out of the West?
The reason why I believe OKC has that it factor to get them there is based off the performance I saw out of them in Game 3. If Memphis was going to win any game this series, it should have been Game 3. They went out and they let loose on OKC. They definitely came out firing. The crowd was hyped up at the FedEx Forum. They had their shot. But when the second half came around and you saw Dirk Jr. go from only having 1 point in the first half to dropping 21 plus points in the second half and having 4 plus threes from the 3-point line, it lets me know that they just outmatch up almost everybody in the NBA outside of Boston. Mm-hmm. They are deep. They have a 10-man rotation. And one thing I like about them is even though SGA is the clear-cut best player on their team, they got a bunch of other guys that can still give you 20 any given night. So with that being said, it's too much firepower. They're not selfish, and I'm not even looking at age. I'm looking at that as an advantage because it actually gives them fresher legs in a 7-game type series.
Mm-hmm. Well, I've been saying this all through the playoffs. I think last year, the playoff experience that the Minnesota Timberwolves gained last year and the playoff experience that OKC got last year is going to help both of those young teams this year. I think it's OKC. I think the only team that really, really has a shot against OKC, I think OKC doesn't want to see the Golden State Warriors because, throw everything away. If you got Steph Curry and Jimmy Buckets, man, you don't want no parts of that. You don't know want no parts of that guy, and then the experience kicks in. But I think the experience will help these young teams. And I don't think I think if it's not Golden State, I think OKC takes the West. And our last game, which we aren't going to talk about at all, is Miami and Cleveland. Okay, okay, guys, how disgraceful was that last night and the night before? Somebody jump in there on that.
They
40 and
are who
50
we
point
thought
losses.
they were.
Yeah, that was crazy.
They are who they thought we were, Troy.
Yeah, so, yeah, man. Miami ain't have a chance beating Cleveland in a 4-game series. Maybe one time, but them getting swept, no surprise to nobody.
Snowball's chance in hell. Felix, what's your thoughts?
It's pretty cut and dry. I mean, the Cavaliers, one of the best teams in basketball right now. Heat barely got in. Now, we kind of had an idea of how the series would go, but 40 to 50, I mean, that was you don't
It
go into a
was.
playoff series expecting to see that kind of wide disparity in scores. Yeah, yes.
Listen, Eric Spoelstra, I personally think is one of the very, very best coaches in all the NBA. Resigned after the game. What you guys' thoughts on that?
He did.
I'm sorry.
I didn't know he resigned. I didn't know he
Yes,
resigned.
yes, yes. After the game, he resigned after the game. 17 years in the NBA. Eric Spoelstra has stepped down as head coach of the Miami Heat. What you guys' thoughts on that?
I'll go. I'll jump out there. That's a Pat Riley team. Pat Riley's involved in all decision making with the Miami Heat. Those guys quit on Eric Spoelstra. Period.
So
I've never seen that happen in professional sports before, but they absolutely quit on this coach last night. Does that speak about whether or not Spoelstra can really coach? Is that Pat Riley's system? We don't really know that. But if you remember when Braun was there was some back and forth between him and Spoelstra quite a bit.
Troy, what's your thoughts on Spo?
Yeah, without a doubt. Spo, I didn't really think too much of Spo when he first came on the scene because he got dealt the greatest hand that you could possibly get dealt, having a coach Mario Chalmers and Dwayne Wade and LeBron James and Chris Bosh and Ray Allen. And I mean, it's like he had a stacked deck to begin with. But what I will say though is that he's earned everything that he's been given. So it's not like it's just a hand me down. He's definitely worked his way to get to where he's at. I think the whole situation with Jimmy Butler and Pat Riley just create a whole cancer within this organization. And I think that negative publicity made things harder for them to focus when they needed to focus. And I don't even think that they saw themselves beating Cleveland in this series. So if you don't see yourself honestly given a chance to beat a number 1 seed, then you beat before the series even starts. So it is what it is.
Pastor John says they should have lost by 60. Man, 40 and 50 ain't enough, Elder John, Pastor John. Felix, what's your thought on Spo?
Right. So I think this is a decision. He's been with the team through thick and thin those 17 years, and they were at the peak. They were at the mountaintop in the early 2010s, but they also had some points where they were rebuilding, points in which they were struggling. So him leaving, I can understand it's not him leaving because of adversity or because of one bad season or one bad game. I remember those struggling Miami Heat teams in the late 2000s. So I get it, but at the same time, again, I I can kind of understand what he's doing, and I'm just it's just left to be seen what happens next.
I'll say
Listen,
this. I
Lori's
think he
telling
definitely
me.
gets picked up by somebody soon.
Say what you say, Troy.
I said, I'll say this. I definitely think that some team will, look to reach out to him to have him, pick up the slack where they need help at. And I do think that wherever he does go, he'll make a lasting impact quickly. So, like I said, Eric Spoelstra's still a great coach. I just think the whole situation in the past couple of years with the Heat in general, I don't blame him for stepping down.
Hey, listen, Lori is telling me it's time to wrap up, but I've been enjoying you guys so much that I want to go out with this last question to all of you guys, if you can do this quickly for me. How I know we kind of getting the cart before the horse, but I don't think so. How good is Cleveland and Boston series going to be? Felix, how good is Cleveland and Boston going to be?
I've said it for months now. I think that's going to be a 7-game series, and I think it's going to be a prime example of the young, talented team against the, two young, talented teams, really. I just want to say the experienced Boston team because they won last year's championship. But at the same time, that's a team of young stars as well. So I think it's a matter of seeing how quickly you can rebuild as an NBA team. Because remember, Cleveland, they went from a not so good team at the Wizards tier. I have to mention the Wizards, then they went from that.
I know you're contractually obligated. Yep. I understand.
Then they went to a borderline playoff team to the best, arguably the best team in basketball. So
Washington still has a professional team. Troy. Well, Cleveland, Boston. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, this series definitely might go 7. This is why it's important to solidify the number 1 seed when you have 2 or 3 teams in a particular conference that are like neck and neck when it comes to production. Cleveland being the number 1 seed gives them the advantage, in my opinion. I think if it doesn't go to 7 games, Cleveland could beat Boston in 6. I don't think that most people, believe me when I say that, but ultimately, I've seen Boston go up 20-plus points on Cleveland in the first half in the regular season.
Right. I saw that game.
And Cleveland come all the way back. Mm-hmm. Donovan Mitchell dropped 40-plus points, and they still found a way to, come back and win the game. So I think because Boston doesn't have the home court advantage, if it does go to Game 7, I think that Cleveland finishes it off. But ultimately, excuse me. I'm sorry, one more thing. I think Boston could finish it off in 7, but I think Cleveland having the home court advantage and starting out first 2 games at home is going to help them.
Impressive, Skywalker. All right, B, I told you was running anchor. Close us out, Brian.
I would never support the Boston anything for anything. I'm going with Cleveland.
Is it worse than Milwaukee, Brian?
Oh yeah, by far. Milwaukee's cold. There's nothing in Milwaukee except their building. Let me give them credit.
They got good cheese.
They definitely got good cheese.
Yeah, how healthy is cheese for you right now?
Hey guys, I want to take the time to thank you guys. Felix Bassey, the Washington Sports Den on Thursdays at 2 p.m. on WBGR. You don't want to miss him. That young man's future is so bright. He needs to wear shades during the day. Troy, it's great to have you back on the show. Our viewers miss you, okay? And to my big brother, Brian, thanks for checking in, man. I appreciate you. I love all you guys, man. Thanks a lot.
Enjoyed you guys. Enjoyed you.
All righty. Hey, gang, that was fun. That's our show for today. Don't forget to like and subscribe us on YouTube and hit that like bell, please. If you're enjoying the content and you like to bless our ministry, you can sow into the Tom the Bomb Sports Talk Cash App. It's $ Tom the Bomb Sports Talk. And don't forget to check out our website at www.tomthebombsports.com. And you can also email us at info@tomthebombsports.com. Hey, like I said, for a dynamic, in-depth sports analysis and highlights for sports in the DMV and more, check out the Washington Sports Den on Thursdays at 2 p.m. Eastern on WBGR with my main man, Mr. Felix Bassey. Hey, man, time flies when you're having fun. And, man, we had fun today. Look, we're out of time here, but we sure do thank you for spending your time with us. We don't take that for granted. Also, I just have to say this. Lori did a phenomenal job. I got to give a holler for Lori. Thank you, Dr. Lauren. Listen, may the gates of heaven open and pour out an abundance of blessings down on you where there won't be room enough to contain it as you live off the overflow and step into the realm of grace boldly. Remember, if you want it, you got to confess it with your mouth and believe it in your heart that Jesus died on the cross and that he rose on the 3rd day, not a Thursday, right, Lauren? Right, Pastor John? Okay. Just for you. Remember, darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. And hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. God bless you. We'll see you guys on this same bat time, on this same bat channel. And Monday. Lord, Dr. Lauren is saying Monday. So, the enemy tried to hold us down, but this show had to happen, man. I knew this was going to be a good show. I knew we were going to have fun, but we'll see you guys next Monday. And listen, and don't forget, our Friday Grace Devotionals, Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern. If you guys are missing this, you are missing something. You guys need to tune in, and you can check all of them out on YouTube. You guys have a good evening. Tom the Bomb and Dr. Lauren out. Thanks to my panel again. I love you guys. Have a good evening.
Peace.
This is your time, and you gon' shine, and you gon' shine, daughter of mine. This is your time, and you gon' shine, and you gon' shine.
Well, I'm coming out with a word in my mouth, filled with excitement to say what it's all about. For a long time, I've held this water in, let the floodgates open, let the miracles begin. I've prayed, and I've gone back 7 times, look again, cause the miracles of mine stir the water. I'm about to step in like the pool of Bethesda, let the healing begin.
Daughter of mine, this is your time, and you gon' shine, and you gon' shine. Daughter of mine, this is your time, and you gon' shine, and you gon' shine.
It took a minute to get my composure right. For years it seems like I've been fighting for my life. Confusing times when my days resemble nights. But now this eagle is about to take flight and soar out of darkness to its revelation light. Though the waves are rough, I step out my comfort zone to walk on water, cause I know I'm not alone. God's got my back and reminds me I'm his own. His words are sweet in my mouth, they taste like a honeycomb. And faith has opened up my eyes. I've been through the fire, tested and tried. As I study God's word, I finally realize that my purpose I have to visualize, to bring the unseen from the realm of under night until I walk into the fullness of a purpose-filled life. Cause I'm light. Yes, I am light, and I shine bright. I am an investment of the Lord Jesus Christ. Not only am I light, I am salt. When I enter in, I add flavor to it all. I bring truth, there's no dispute. Jesus is the vine, and in him I take root. I am the head, and not the tail. I'm an overcomer made free to prevail. A new design, a special kind. Ambassador followed by wonders and signs. I am light, and I give sight, leading lost souls to his glorious light. I am light.
Daughter of mine, this is your time, and you gon' shine, and you gon' shine. Daughter of mine, this is your time, and you gon' shine, and you gon' shine. Daughter of mine, this is your time, and